Welcome everyone to Big Apple White Rose, the baseball podcast, from two very different cities, from New York, and from York, Pennsylvania. I'm Brian Wagner, and happy to always be here with my co-host Nick Diminich. Nick, how's everything going?
Going well. I think we've seen enough of spring training at this point to tease us and get ready for the regular season. And we've got guys
I'm
already
ready
at
to
like the
go.
5-6 home run mark. Jock Peterson's hitting 570 with 5 homers, spring training hero. But yeah, I'm
Yeah, save
definitely
some for
ready.
the season, Jack.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. The Cubs are going to need it, but definitely ready for when's opening day? March 28th, 26th?
April 1st
Oh, April
on
1. All
April
right. That's good.
Fool's
That's
Day.
how it should be. That's how it should be, I
Yeah,
think. Cool.
right at the start of April. I agree.
Yep. Yep. I
I
like it.
agree. But it's gonna it's gonna be a good season. But now it's like the first week is like, oh, it's all hope. Second week is like, all right, like I'm ready to fight the full season. Next week will be like, just let's get this going, guys.
Yeah,
Like,
all the guys playing well, you want to just get them off, get them to the regular season and stay
no
healthy.
injuries, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
luckily we haven't had to speak about anyone getting hurt. So let's keep
No,
it
it's
that
been
way.
kind of quiet. It's been kind of quiet, which is I think it's a good thing.
That's the best. That's the best spring.
Yeah. But so today's topic, Nick, you want to intro that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we left you off last week with the little bit of a debate teaser on Jimmy
Oh
Rollins,
yeah.
but in general, today we're going to speak Hall of Fame. We're going to speak about the guys coming up for eligibility in the next 2 to 5 years. People that retired 4 years ago up to this year. We've got names that guys just retired. And we won't be delving back into the Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, the writers to blame. That's settled. We know the deal with that. But today we're gonna have a good
The more
discourse
can
on
be
what makes
said.
a Hall of Famer and what some stuff to look forward to. So it's good. And how do you determine it?
That's the debate for the ages. That's I think every year it's a story. The writers have become the story themselves.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
crazy
So
thing.
so like we said, Jimmy Rollins is the one that we're going to start with today because he is up for eligibility next year. Notable name, especially if you grew up as Brian and I, in the last 20 years of baseball, our formative baseball years, and he seems like he was there. I mean, he played in the vet, so he was around. He was around in the early 2000s, and that's kind of our heyday. But he obviously was a
Start.
storied
Yeah.
career, won an MVP, won a World Series. Can't, especially for a team like Philadelphia, can't take that away from him. But I like to pose the questions of, without knowing someone's name and just looking at the stats. I did a little cherry picking of someone who I consider to be his extreme contemporary, somewhat rival,
Okay.
and I want to see if you know who these players are. So
Okay.
the first player we have here, and I picked the stats that I feel like would earn Jimmy Rollins his Hall of Fame,
Okay.
his Hall of Fame credentials, as opposed to the other stuff, the Gold Gloves, or the Gold Gloves and the awards are great and they make your case as well. But here we go with straight stats. So
All
player
right.
A, player A has a career 283 batting average, 334 on base percentage, and 427 slugging. So a very formidable whatever that is, 761 OPS.
OPS.
Career hits 2138. So over 2,000 hits, 2,138 hits. He hit 145 home runs and he stole 517 bases. So this is player A.
It's a lot of bases.
It's a lot of stolen bases. It's a lot of hits. I mean, it's really not that hard to. It's
Yeah.
really not that easy to get as many hits like that. Over
No.
2,000 is legit. So, all right. So now player B, 264 average, lower than player A.
Okay.
324 on base percentage, lower than player A, and a 418 slugging, also lower than player A. But this player had 2,400 hits, 2,455,
Almost
231 home runs, about 90 more, 85 more, and 470 stolen bases, so fewer than player A. So this player has player B beats player A in hits and home runs, but is less in all the other categories. Brian, do you know which player is which? Obviously, one is going to be Jimmy Rollins because it's going to be
right.
comparison reasons. But do you know who is who?
264. So I was gonna say with the home runs because J-Roll was such a good. He had some pop from the leadoff spot, so I was gonna say player B because he had more home runs. But that 264 average, I don't
You are
remember him.
correct. Player B is Jimmy
Oh,
Rollins.
okay.
Player B
Wow,
is Jimmy Rollins.
264. He
Yeah,
bats 264.
that's what I'm saying.
Jesus, 264. I didn't. I did not
And
know
a
that because
324 OBP is not like, you're not making any Saber magazines with something like that.
yeah. Oh, I think we should tell the audience too. First, full disclosure: Nick and I both are not sabermetric
No.
wizards, nor
Nope.
are we like in love with the
I
whole
respect. Yeah, we both
sabermetrics.
respect it. I would say we both respect it like a ton, and we get why it's used, and the stats are important. I think every statistic is important, by the way, but that's why we record them. But it's not the end all
Right.
be all, and I usually don't like the on field product of teams that play that way. They might win, and trust me, if my team wins a World Series playing with that, I'll fine, it's great, but we're not huge fans of it. So do you know
Now,
who player A is with the higher average, higher OBP, higher slugging, more stolen bases?
more stolen bases. Oh my goodness. And is player A a Hall of Famer, or you think should be a Hall of
Well, we'll discuss him later on. Because
Famer?
if you think J-Roll is one, I'm gonna make the case for player A too. You're gonna like
It's
this
not
one.
Carl. It's not Carl Crawford, is it?
No, no, no. Same
Okay.
position. Same
Jeez.
position. Played for the same.
Same
Played for this same position. Played during the same years.
Who's up for eligibility there?
He's not eligible this year. No, he's not. He's not necessarily eligible this year.
Okay.
He'll be eligible in a couple of years.
Give me one more hint. One more hint, and I'll give up if I can't get it.
Won a batting
Played
title.
during the same years.
Won a batting title.
Shortstop. Same years.
Virtually the same years. Might have started a year or two after, and finished a couple of years after. You're gonna kick yourself.
It's not Reyes, is it?
La
Oh my
Melaza,
God.
son. Yes, it is. Jose Reyes,
Oh my
man.
God.
Yes.
I didn't even know he's coming up soon. Like that's crazy.
He retired 2 years ago, according to the Hall of Fame website.
Oh wow. Jesus Christ.
So he'll be eligible in 3 years.
I don't even see him as a baseball player anymore. I see him as a reggaeton.
Yeah, exactly. As the next Bad Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Jesus.
But I mean, think about both of those guys are very comparable. They both played basically in the same division their whole careers. Rival teams, Mets and whatever, and Reyes went to the Marlins. Switch hitters.
Right.
Obviously, Jose got hurt a lot more, which I think hurts his overall hit numbers because he had a better average.
The counting ones, of course. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right. The accumulation stats. So, I mean, and we're not getting into any of the off the field stuff at all because whatever that is, what it is. But yeah, I don't know. I've always compared those two, and I feel like their numbers for as similar as their numbers finished. It's interesting.
Here's the thing: Reyes was when he was on his peak, was electric. He
Arguably a better player.
Arguably, yeah, more talent for sure. I would say for sure. Just he can change the game on his own with just being a menace on the base pads. Excuse me. He can hit. He could hit for power when he needs to. Like he was just all that. J-Roll 264 average. So that kills me. And I know that's like a traditional stat, blah, blah, blah. We do have on base there. And
now we have to respect that. So many guys are in the Hall of Fame because of their batting average. So we have to respect it.
Right. So you have to respect it. And, talking about peak and J-Roll at his peak, I think was, again, one of the more feared leadoff hitters as well. But sometimes, I think you got to also look at their 7-year peak, right? A lot of people talk about, how were they during their 7-year peak? And Jesus, like you got me like mind fucked with this Jose Reyes comparison.
It's good though.
No idea it is a good comparison.
Contemporary. It's his. They were rivals of the rivals. Like they were literally competing for all-star spots every single year.
Every single year. That's right.
And
So,
so Reyes has more
but if you
all-star.
ask me, today, who's a Hall of Famer, Jimmy Rollins or Jose Reyes? I would say Jimmy Rollins over Jose Reyes.
Right. So gun to my head, if I had to pick one, I would agree with you for the reasons that he won a World Series. Okay, that to me comes first and foremost because that's the goal of this entire thing
Right.
is to win the World Series. So that is something Reyes will never have. Number two is the MVP award that he won the year before they won the World Series, and they smacked the Mets out of the playoffs in the epic collapse of that year, of September of that year. So he almost has the like knock Reyes down because I think Reyes hit about 075 down the stretch that season and completely disappeared and collapsed, much like David Wright, much like the entire team that year. So yes, he has that X factor stuff. Also, Jimmy Rollins has 4 gold gloves, I think, more gold gloves than Reyes, but Reyes made more all-star teams. Because I think because of what you said,
it's also the New York factor.
Right. But Philly's not small and they only have one team. You know, that's Philly's that's why I think they're the ultimate duo to compare because it's team, market, size. Obviously, nothing's as big as New York, but it's close. But
you know what I like? I like looking at, again, when you look at their 7-year peak, and arguably they both had their 7-year peaks were overlapping each other for sure. And again, not to go into the sabermetrics thing, you look at WAR, and this is completely, again,
no, dude, I like WAR's all right. WAR's good. I mean, for those who don't know, it's wins above replacement, and it involves a litany of math that we don't do. Someone else does.
Yeah, no, the NYU did not teach us this.
You have to join a special club for that.
Well, so yeah, Jimmy Rollins' 7-year peak, he had 32.6 WAR. And for Jose Reyes, 29.3. So it's so close.
Oh, it's so damn close. It's close, dude. So that's interesting. So that's interesting that it's that close to me. I thought Reyes would have been like maybe 8 WAR behind, but to me,
so for career, he is. For career, he's 10 wins above replacements points lower. So for Reyes career, but you got to look at 7-year peak. Yeah, Reyes is lower.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
But you got to look at that peak as well, and holy crap, like how close that is of a comparison. I always thought Reyes should have won an MVP. One of those years too. He was like at the cusp.
So was Wright and him and Wright and Beltran, and then one of the years Delgado. Beltran. So the Mets, the Mets definitely detracted each other from winning an MVP. And by the way, the Mets have never had a person win MVP. But yeah, I agree. But for me, Reyes will always have that that shred and that line, like that asterisk of like the Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. obviously had a way better career, but like of what happens if he never got hurt, or what happens if he got hurt, a couple times instead of almost what felt like every season, except for 2011. See, 2011, he wins a batting title.
By bunting in the last at bat.
Yeah, I have bunts in the last at bat and says Terry Collins, take me out. And that's another thing. It's just not likable. But it's so
that's one of the things. So this, I think, this is a good. Yeah, I know. I think that's one of the good, I guess, quote unquote, sabermetric conversations too, right? Because what do people always talk about? Like these analysts, these former players, they say the smell test, whatever the hell that means, right?
Yep.
So they say, is that person a Hall of Famer or not? So J-Roll just feels like a Hall of Famer. It's like almost one of those intangibles where it doesn't make any sense. It sounds stupid, but
the leader, he was the leader.
Right. He was the leader of a dominant Philly team. They won 2 pennants, won 1 World Series.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And so he was the leader of that team. And 30-30 guy, he, MVP, he definitely passes that sort of
30. You forget the 30-30. The 30-30 with J-Roll is interesting. That's because you never really think of him having that much power. I mean, and he has 231 home runs.
He had pop. Like he definitely had pop.
Small ballpark helps. Citizens Bank is small.
That's true.
But
yeah, that's true. That's very fair. And that Reyes took advantage of that too when he played in Philly as well. I remember he would smoke.
Reyes had a 3 home run game in Philly.
That's right. That's
In
right. I mean, that's true. Ballpark factor does, which, yeah, I guess kind of evens out when you look at his WAR.
Yeah,
but
they both played for long enough in multiple places where it's like, yeah, it's fine.
I would say, Rollins was probably the better fielder of the two because Reyes made more flashy, like spectacular plays. But
Reyes had a better arm, but that's about it.
But that's about it. He just he was a little more inconsistent. But we're talking right now. We're talking like very nitpicky like stuff. So you know what? After that cliffhanger last week, I gotta hand it to you. You got me with this comparison here.
It's no disrespect to Jimmy. Like, I mean, the guy was, like I said, it's our formative years. It's like a guy we grew up, hate watching because he played for the wrong team. But when a guy like that retires, you're like, you will always remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
appreciate watching him.
I mean, and then, that goes into the debate of like, they threw Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker or whatever they threw, or one of them's in the Hall of Fame and one of them's not. And it's like, yeah, come on, man. I mean, I didn't grow up watching those guys, so I can't even make the case against or not. But J-Roll has a strong case. I wouldn't shock me if his like 3rd or 4th or 5th year on the ballot, he starts to pick up that momentum of, what, especially after he's out of the game for longer, of wow, like he really had an impact. He was a great a player worth the remembering.
I mean that the Ray again. I'm just like stuck on Reyes now, but the Reyes is, and we're two Mets fans here. So if you're saying why the hell are you guys talking about Mets so much, is because we're two Mets fans. Always. But it's a good kind of comparison on a different scale to like a Johan Santana who didn't get any love. That guy was considered the best pitcher in baseball. Won 2
years in a row.
Yeah. And no one ever gave him love. But when you look at his numbers and compare him to the current Hall of Famers, you're like, well, why isn't this guy a Hall of Famer if that guy's a Hall of Famer, that guy?
Oh yeah. And why Johan? I mean, I would slap Johan in there because he did it with absolute craft. He wasn't the biggest guy. He's a relatively smaller guy comparatively to some of these pitchers. He did not throw 100 miles an hour. He could crank it up when he needed to, but the changeup and the craft and just the overall dominance and mental dominance of guys. And he literally pitched his arm off for our team. So I'll go to bat for Johan whenever.
He didn't have the longevity, and that definitely hurts him.
That hurts him
because he did break down pretty quick. I mean, but so did Sandy Koufax, but no, that's a different level.
No, he chose to. Yeah, Sandy Koufax chose to retire because after 9 years or 10 years, because he didn't want to break down. Johan gutted it out. Literally pitched his arm off, tore his capsule. No one ever came back from a torn capsule. He came back from a torn capsule along with knee problems, along with ankle problems, and he gutted it out. And he almost came back from a second capsule surgery with the Orioles right before he didn't make the team. But his guts, his attitude, that's a guy with the intangible attitude. Yeah, Johan Santana is great. That's a great bubble guy.
Yeah, but that's a good comparison, right? Where it's a guy that you don't necessarily think about in terms of Hall of Famer, but when you look at like the J-Roll, Jose Reyes comparison, like what's really the difference is just negligible. It's tiny.
Exactly. Right. And who's to say one over the next if it's
so I'm not gonna say because Jose Reyes is this comparison is because that comparison is so close, I'm not going to say that Jimmy Rollins is not a Hall of Famer. I'm going to say put them both in.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely close. I mean, obviously, if either of them got 3,000 hits or even 2,800 or 2,900, it'd be a wrap. But yeah, it's a good debate. I mean, and it'll be interesting to see how it does shake out in terms of votes and percentage votes when Reyes does come available, because I really don't think Jimmy's going to get in those 2 years that he has to wait for Reyes. So when they're both on the ballot to see how they get matched up. Now it's going to obviously go into the off the field stuff. Reyes is not going to get many votes because of the domestic violence incident, and that is what it is. But So maybe that throws off the actual metrics of it. But as strictly a player and as strictly just the numbers, it's really close.
J Roll is also well liked, and I think that
That's what,
also
yeah.
goes a long way.
Yeah, oh
And he's
yeah,
a
yeah.
media guy. He's a media guy now. He's on television.
Yep.
Uh, he's part of the that world now. So not that that's all, but that's definitely a consideration when it comes to these
Right.
writers voting. And J Roll's got a good reputation, and rightfully so. He deserves it.
Yeah. Oh, he earned it. I mean, yeah. And Reyes did not earn it at all whatsoever, and that you reap what you sow. So that's what happens. But yeah, exactly. That's the the unknown factor is the who likes who and what writers look at writers, because they should actually have to do it off a blind. What we just did, player A, player B. Would you put them in, and then you can reveal the names, and
Yeah.
then you could see. But I mean, so it brings up the question of a bunch of guys that are coming up here in the next 2 to 5 years, because it's 5 years after you retire that you're eligible. So we have a good list of names here, of guys that some of them I see and I get that initial feeling of, yes, he's a Hall of Fame, and then you check his numbers and you're like, wow, my memory misserves me because he only did it to the Mets, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. The
But
Mets.
so yeah, so going through this, we have so next year, along with Jimmy Rollins, we're looking at Carl Crawford, Prince Fielder, Ryan Howard, Tim Lincecum, Joe Nathan, David Ortiz, Big Poppy, Jonathan Papelbon, Jake Peavy, AJ Pierzynski, A Rod, and Teixeira. So we're gonna just say right now, Ortiz and A Rod definitely Hall of Famers. We've already touched on that. So those guys should be definite Hall of
Shoo-ins.
Famers. Yes. Now, when I look at this list, other than those two, who's the first name that pops out to you?
It would have been J Roll, but
Yeah, yeah. But of these
I
guys.
I think out of all of them, Lincecum just didn't have the longevity as well, but that guy was dominant in his time too. That guy was just
Multiple Cy Youngs.
back to back.
Not many people win multiple Cy Youngs, and yeah, back to back. Like, for again, and that was another little guy who had to, like, he's a small person and
Yeah.
he had to make the most of it. He was throwing gas, and yeah, he didn't have the longevity, which will ultimately hurt him. But if he could have done a 7-year peak thing, like you said, it would have been really, really close. I mean,
He jumps off the list. I think we touched on this last time as well. Mark Teixeira was a good player. Is he the Scott Rowland type of guy where he was good, very, very good, but maybe just not over the hill? Or do they put him in? I don't know
yeah, I
his
mean, so
numbers on my
I
head,
see
but
this list and I see Teixeira, and I feel like he's the third best first baseman on this list, with behind Prince Fielder and Ryan Howard. Prince Fielder,
wow.
I feel like Prince Fielder, I mean, career derailed by the neck injury, but he
Right.
was
He was on his way for
yeah,
no
I mean,
doubt. No doubt.
Brew Crew from the beginning, had massive playoff moment home runs, or put them in the playoffs, or big moments with them. Get to the big contract from the Tigers, so you could tell how good he was by getting a 9-year contract. Traded for another perennial all-star who's going to come up later, Ian Kinsler. So his value was always there. Prince's value was always respected and shown in the game, and I feel like, yeah, I mean, and that's a guy who was absolutely massive. And if you, for as healthy as he did stay for his entire career until the end, is something. Ryan
The thing is,
Howard,
I think
MVP.
he definitely gets the. And sorry to interrupt you there, but I
No,
think he definitely gets the knock with the injury bug, and consistency is key. And not to harp on to Shara, but he just did it for so long that you kind of overlooked it. Every
yeah, I
year he just
agree.
kind
I
of did
mean,
his thing,
my thing with
and
Teixeira on the Yankees is, and I said this last time, he was in the middle of a lineup with Cano and A-Rod,
right.
and Matsui and Giambi and other guys that were around there at that time. And it was kind of like, all right, and Granderson hitting 50 home runs or whatever. Like, like it's one thing when you're in that lineup, and it's another thing when it's Prince Fielder with, all right, he had Ryan Braun, but he batted behind Ryan Braun. He was Braun's protection. And
Right.
who else played for the Brewers in those years? I can't even recall.
Was that shortstop
Offensively,
Alex Gonzalez? Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, they had no one of super off
No
the top of my head that I can even remember.
council. No, but nobody lived that level.
No.
But
So, and small market, like it's not really easy to just disappear into a small market, like, and still get known like Milwaukee. But I mean, Ryan Howard's interesting
if
to
you
me
want to
too.
say they're 1 year, even if they're 1 year peak, I might take Ryan Howard out of all of those guys.
Yeah, he won
Yeah.
an MVP.
But
That's
and he
why.
was and he had it all too.
And
He can
yep.
hit the ball the other way. He definitely was incredible.
And Howard is
Uh,
a bummer because he literally never recovered from he popped his Achilles on the final out of whatever division, either division series or championship series against the Cardinals. I think that was 2011. He went to break out of the box and his Achilles popped and he never came back from it.
when you look at Ryan Howard and Prince Fielder, their careers kind of mirror each other,
Mm-hmm.
where they had like dominant, couple years, bad injury, and just couldn't.
Yep.
I don't know. I believe they played almost the same amount of years as well, like 12, 13
I think
years.
Prince probably got Howard on a little longer because he didn't get hurt until like his injury ended it right then and there. It was the neck right then and there at the very end with
Right.
Texas. And he was already on Texas at that point. Like he had how many years with the Brewers? A couple with the Tigers. And when he got to the Tigers, that lineup was loaded. I
Yeah, that
mean,
lineup.
that was like a fantasy
It's a shame
baseball lineup.
that Tigers team, and seeing the Tigers right now, but that
I
Tigers
know.
team was incredible too. They
I
had
know.
what, Scherzer, Verlander, who else? One other guy that was like a beast. I can't remember.
Scherzer, Verlander. I mean, like the Tigers at one point had Scherzer, Verlander, Rick Porcello,
David Price.
J. Yeah, they got David Price later on. Whatever. Yeah, the Tigers had a few years of being absolutely loaded. They had JD Martinez. They had Victor Martinez. Obviously, Miguel Cabrera, Prince Fielder. They traded Prince Fielder for Ian Kinsler. Like they had
Right.
all sorts of just name brand guys that. Unfortunately, they never won a World Series. I wish they would have won. What was that? 2012.
Yeah, I guess the Giants.
Yeah, that was it for them. I wish they would have won that.
That was their window. But no, I think look, I think Prince and Howard should always be remembered
Yeah,
because they are incredible players, incredible their highlights are just
some of the home runs,
memorable
right? Yeah, like both of them have hit home runs that are like I think still flying.
to the moon. So I think they are, but if you're looking at first baseman, I think when it comes to career and again longevity and consistency throughout that longevity, it's gotta be Tex
I
from
mean,
there.
yeah,
Now, is
Teixeira
he a
is
Hall of
also much
Famer?
better. Teixeira is also a much better defender. Like the Gold
He
Glove.
yeah, and he
He
was
was the
great.
Gold Glover all those years.
Now that's not to say that Teixeira is a Hall of Famer, by the way. Like
Right. No, of
I,
course.
I think he's a bubble guy.
Yep.
Like the Hall of Very Good, as
Yep.
people like to say in the media as well. But he definitely had that consistency, and I see him a lot like Scott Rowland, where I remember Scott Rowland as a really good player, as a great player, but
Like a
Hall of
solid
Famer,
number two or right, like a solid number two or three.
right? Never really the guy.
No. And yeah, ultimately, I don't think any of these guys wind up in. I mean, I really hope they put Ortiz and A-Rod in and they just forget all the other stuff. But I don't see, yeah, no, Carl
Right.
Crawford, no. Linscomb won't. Joe Nathan, no. Jake Peavy, no. So
No,
yeah,
none of these other guys next year.
yeah. So
I
all right,
think
so
are going in. Good players, Justin Morneau won an MVP, but Uribe helped us make the World Series in 15, but
right.
definitely not Hall of Fame worthy, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that you and I are to beyond all, but
No, I get it. I mean, so yeah. But that's them. All right. So then the next year, 2023, we have Carlos Beltran, Matt Cain, Andre Ethier, John Lackey, Mike Napoli, Johnny Peralta, Francisco Rodriguez, Houston Street, Jared Weaver, and Jason Worth.
put K-Rod in there.
So if closers got more respect, I feel like he could have a case. Like he
He
was
could. I
he
mean,
had a
yeah.
long career. He bounced
All jokes
back
aside,
from
yeah.
stuff. He made the impact of a 19, 20-year-old when he came up in 2002, winning the World Series, getting nicknamed K-Rod, defeating the Yankees, like in a time where no one beat the Yankees really. But so K-Rod, maybe. I think we're both in agreement that Carlos Beltran should be in the Hall of Fame.
I think he's a first ballot guy, and that's going to be an interesting storyline when
With the cheating
you know
nonsense. Yeah.
with the Astros stuff. But talk about longevity. That guy played 20 years in the bigs, did win a World
Got it.
Series.
Got it.
You
You
know,
can't take the ring away
he
from
got
him.
the
I don't give a
can't
shit if he has to get suspended or whatever. He got the ring. And then you look at his postseason numbers. You look at Beltran's postseason numbers. One of the best postseason players of all time. Of all time.
I think Beltran's the type of player that if you say, "Hey, build me a Hall of Famer," he's the guy.
Oh,
5 tools,
tools.
uh,
Yes. Yes. And
just consistency throughout,
you want to talk
leadership
about his
throughout.
peak, like center fielder, gold glover, great arm, always had outfield assist, 41 home runs in 06, 100 whatever RBI. Like he is the stolen bases galore. He is the guy. Beltran is the guy. And he
Yeah.
got the ring to solidify all the rest of his postseason numbers. Salty Mets fans can forget about 2006. It's fine. Like, sometimes you strike out. No one
I
was
think I
hitting
think I think anybody would have struck out to that. That
No
was
one's hitting that
Wainwright's
ball.
curveball of his life.
I mean, Wainwright might go in the
But
Hall of
anyway,
Fame one day too. So, you know,
which well, he's not he won't be discussed here, but I think he's there too. But
because he's still playing.
yeah.
But so no, Beltran. I'm putting Beltran in of this group. The one name that sticks out to me other than K-Rod, which we spoke about, is Andre Ethier, because I think people forget how long he played for, and he was consistently good. Like he's not Hall of Fame player, but you never really see that long of a career of just so consistently good. A couple All-Star games, very clutch guy, had how many walk-off hits. So Andre Ethier is a guy that he deserves a lot of respect, I feel like, from our generation of people.
I agree. And I was looking at the list and I saw Ethier's name, and I think he definitely had a long well, I don't know how
Never
long
a
his career was, but
superstar. Never a superstar.
he was never a superstar in his own team. He
Right.
was kind of like platooned even at certain points, but
Right.
solid guy.
Yeah, like he's one of those guys that had they won a World Series and say like it was his peak year where they won a World Series and he was the leader, then it would definitely be in the convo. But he needs a lot of respect on his name for sure going forward.
What do you think, Carlos Ruiz?
Carlos Chooch?
Chooch.
Not long enough.
Not Hall of Famer, but we want to talk about a guy who deserves respect.
Career. And plus he was a catcher, so
yeah,
catchers are tough. But
talk about leader. He was like the silent leader of that team.
Yeah.
Of that Phillies team.
Yeah, he was always a pain in the ass to play against, which is a sign of a good player.
Exactly. No,
right,
I think out of those guys though, I think Beltran's kind of the only, and K-Rod, I know I joked at the beginning, but K-Rod did have a really good career.
Oh, 100%. If they respected closers more, I think K-Rod is in. I mean, like it's tough to say. Like obviously Mariano because he was Mariano, but then Billy Wagner's not in. Like there's closers that just aren't in where it's like, come on.
But right. If you're not going to put like a Billy Wagner in, you're not going to put K-Rod in, and other closers that are probably deserving if you really do respect that position. But it sucks. I think that position's being less and less respected as we go into like the openers and having really every reliever throw 1,000 miles per hour and just kind of
use your best guy in the sixth inning when the bases are loaded, which I actually don't necessarily disagree with. Like if you come into if the game is in the 7th or 8th inning and the bases are loaded and the best player is coming to bat, the best offensive player, like
that's the moment you win the game, right?
Yeah, we're gonna go with the guy that we are most confident in getting the out and worry about the later, because the later innings don't matter if the guy clears the bases with a double. So
sure, I agree, and I agree. By the way, it's just more so like
Oh, of course. The
Fortunately,
statistic
those
building.
guys, hopefully those guys get paid during their career, which is what matters. But when it comes to looking back their career, it's almost like,
Comparing statistics, you won't be able to really know as much.
right. And so I think they should put some more respect on relievers' names in general.
Yeah, it's gonna bulk together. Like, yeah, you're right. It's gonna just become relief pitchers, who's the best reliever. But so
Right.
2024, Jose Bautista, Adrian Beltre, Bartolo Colon, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Holliday, Jim Johnson, Victor Martinez, Joe Mauer, Brandon Phillips, Jose Reyes, James Shields, Chase Utley, David Wright, and Brad Ziegler. I don't know why Brad Ziegler's on that list. He's not worth comment. So this one's interesting.
This is super interesting.
So Adrian Beltre is a guaranteed, right?
Yes.
Yes, he's a lock. Adrian Beltre is a first ballot. Everybody loves him. He has the numbers to support it. 3,000 hits, right? I think.
Yeah.
He got 3,000 hits, and I think he fell just short of 500 home runs. So Adrian Beltre,
he's a no doubt about it, and he's one of the best. He has the most hits ever by any Dominican.
Lock it in.
Yeah. So he's
and he was fun. He was so fun to watch. Like he was just he is an entertainer too.
He's one of those guys too. I mean, we said this before too. He's one of those guys where you say, wasn't the guy on his team or whatever. Because I really don't think he was ever, like, maybe in Texas, but
the year in LA. So the year in LA that he had before he got paid by Seattle, he was definitely the guy on that team. He hit almost,
like 40
something home runs. So he was the guy there. But then Seattle, the years in Seattle gave him a bad name because he kind of disappeared and didn't live up to the contract. But on Texas, they had Josh Hamilton, who was the guy, quote unquote. But I don't know.
He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, this is one of those guys that does not get hurt by that. He does not get hurt by that.
Right.
He played for 20 years. He was in the conversation, at least top 15 MVP every year.
Votes. Garnered some votes.
Yeah, he was a consistent, a perennial all-star. Like, that guy was just great. So he's a lock for sure.
He's the lock. He's a definite lock that year. Jose Bautista, in my opinion, not long enough. Joey Bats. I mean, he's kind of the poster child of reinventing your swing, and that's what a lot of guys did these years and hit a lot of home runs. Epic moments, the bat flip to end all bat flips, which actually was the bat flip to start all bat flips, apparently. So he's close, but no cigar, in my opinion. Bartolo, close, but no cigar.
I think
by the longevity.
I think Bartolo's hurt. It was boosted by the longevity, but also then negated by the performance enhancing.
Oh yeah, that's
people
right.
Forget about. They love. Look at the fat guy swinging, and they forget, like, this guy was suspended for PEDs.
That's right. And he was just like, I took some stuff. He just didn't look like he was on PEDs, right? Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. You got like Mark McGwire, who's like ripped, muscles on muscle, and then Bartolo Colon.
But Bart's gonna live forever for multiple reasons. I mean, it's obvious. The home run he hit, all that stuff is just epic.
Bautista is interesting, kind of going back to him, because he's another one of those peak guys that, he may have done it for like 7 years, like exactly where that was his era, but he, personality aside, which I know he doesn't have the best reputation, and rightfully so.
Right.
He
got punched in the face on the field.
That alone should put both of them in the Hall of Fame.
That's the most Hall of Fame fight I've ever seen.
They should put moments in the Hall of Fame and like a fight section, brawls.
Rougned Odor's fist landing on Jose Bautista's face. That was
didn't drop though. He didn't drop. Well,
I know he took it. He took it like a champ. That's great.
But he definitely had a great career that puts him into the conversation, at least.
Oh, he'll get votes.
I think he should have respect as well from that. What do you think of Matt Holliday?
So I was gonna say that a lot of these names are perfect comparables because it's Matt Holliday, Victor Martinez, Utley, and David Wright. I think are all in that conversation of the very good Like very. I mean, Matt Holliday. Matt Holliday was really good, man. I mean,
It's tough to say no to Matt Holliday, right? He was
yeah, I
really good.
ultimately don't think he makes it, but he was really good. And again, he was kind of number two guy. I mean, not in Colorado at first. Well, kind of. They had still had Todd Helton when they made the World Series, but Colorado, which boosts your numbers, but he proved it when he went to the Cardinals. I feel like Holiday on the Cardinals was like, wow, this guy's really good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think even on the Rockies, I mean, he was that guy could just hit for another five, maybe not the speed, but he was definitely had the hit for power, hit for average.
Yep.
Came up big in moments
Mm-hmm.
as well. He, 7-time All Star. He was, top two, runner up MVP in 2007 when he had 137
Wow.
RBIs, 340 batting average.
When they made the miracle run to the World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, epic 20. They won 20 games in a row, I believe. Or so yeah, 20 games in a row to finish the season.
If they didn't, it seemed like it.
No, I'm pretty sure to finish the season, they won 20 in a row. And that's what like got them right into the playoffs. And then they swept the first two rounds. So it was another 7 wins in a row. And then Boston beat the shit out of them in the World Series.
So I love baseball reference because they always compare scores and
Yep.
they
Yeah,
try
that's
to make it
perfect.
as neutral as possible. They have that Hall of Fame monitor,
Yep.
which Holiday is slightly over. Likely Hall of Famers around 100. He's 110. Uh, when you
That's
look at the career WAR, he's well below his position. Which
big.
should that matter? By the way, his position, the fact that he was a
Um,
left fielder, he wasn't necessarily a
kind of,
power
yeah,
guy.
because left field. Well, not. I mean, I don't think your offense should matter what position you played, but like left field, right field, and like left field in general, I feel like is the least consequential position on the field. It's
Right.
just stick the guy out there. He better be a bat. I mean, like you got to make the plays, but we'll live with bad defense. Right field, you have to have at least kind of a strong arm. Center field, you got to be a great defender.
Now, when you can,
Yeah.
his 7-year peak is a little bit lower than the average Hall of Famer. His career is well below 65 is the career WAR for the average left fielder Hall of Famer. There's 20 of them, and he's ranked 36 with 44.
Yeah.
So he's on the cusp. If you look at comparable batters according to the similarity score thing with Baseball Reference, and I love Baseball
Yep.
Reference. Um, Moises Alou, Maglia Ordonez, and Sean Green are his comparisons. I think those are really good comparisons.
Ooh. I mean, and for our like, if we make a Hall of Fame of our generation, like all the like just those, let's call it 1995 to 2015, that 20 years. Yeah. I mean, I would put all those guys in the Hall of Fame. Those guys, I love those guys. Moises Alou, I love that guy.
Yeah, Alou.
Um,
I
Even
think I
Sean
think
Green.
Utley from a sorry to
No,
interrupt
yeah,
you.
no, it's good.
I think Utley from a again, this is where a position I think helps him. Playing second base and having those offensive numbers
Yes.
is
Yes.
great. You don't see those offensive numbers from second baseman
Correct.
that
Him and
often.
David Wright. This is kind of like Rollins and Reyes. It's amazing all these guys played against each other 20 times a year, and like there's only one World Series to show for it. But Utley and David Wright are obviously they're second and third base, so it's a little different, but really comparable, like numbers wise. I mean, David Wright, obviously the spinal stenosis derailed it. Otherwise, he'd be probably a lock because of the media thing. Everyone loves David Wright everywhere. He still might. David Wright, honestly, still might get in, and that's not my New York bias. That's just from kind of seeing the writing on the wall. He might get the. I don't want to call him pity votes, but he might get the like projected out. Oh, if the stenosis didn't do it for good guy David, like he might. I think I lost. Yeah. All right, we got some technical difficulties. We little internet connection issue. Um, but I can just sit here and speak to myself. But yeah, I mean that's David Wright for you. All right, we're back. A little technical difficulties, but we are back talking about David Wright. So yeah, I mean, basically what I was saying was I think his good guy personality, his ultimately pretty good numbers, like very good numbers, might get him in. It won't be first ballot, but he might get the Larry Walker, year 6, 7, 8, a huge
Last
social
year.
media push. Like you never know.
Yeah.
Mets fans are crazy.
I think their numbers are comparable, but it's the position that I think helps Utley in that sense because again, you don't still see it from a second baseman. From a third baseman, you've had some Adrian Beltre's one, some third basemen that have some really good numbers.
Yeah, Beltre. Yeah, Beltre puts
and did
right
it
to
longer.
shame.
Right. So I do think that Wright's in that Hall of Very Good category just because that those injuries kind of derailed him. But he was on his way too. He definitely was on his way.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I think out of that group though, it's I think Holiday's a
The closest one, probably.
closest one. I mean, not even getting into like a Victor Martinez or Adrian Gonzalez, who are also
Right.
solid
Solid.
players.
Those guys were really
But
solid. Never the best players on their team, but Adrian might have been one year, but that's it. And then in the coming years, I mean, we like the only guys I see on this list on the next few years of that are locks, I would say, are CC Sabathia and Ichiro. Would you agree with that?
oh, I agree. I agree with that 1,000%.
Other
I
than
think
that, the rest of the guys probably won't get in.
no, I'm looking at that 25 ballot. You got
Yeah,
Brian McCann, Ryan Zimmerman.
it's close, but Ichiro, to me, it's Ichiro and CC. They're going in.
Yeah. No, that's without a doubt. Those two are locks. You got Dustin too.
So Pedroia is kind of like David Wright in the sense that, but Pedroia's got how many rings? So
Yeah.
actually, yeah, Dustin Pedroia might get in. He probably should. Second base, little guy, Boston, dirty, gritty. Like will run through a wall. Like he might.
I was at an event once, and obviously, guys, I'm not a tall guy. So I was at an event in Boston, and Pedroia was there, and I just happened to be standing, kind of near him. He didn't want to talk. I would try to make small talk. Didn't happen, but he was like up to here to me, and I'm not a tall guy, so I was like, wow, that guy's my hero. Like a guy like him.
That is amazing, actually.
I'm
He's shorter than you.
I'm always gonna root for those guys.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, and plus
height doesn't matter. Height doesn't measure heart, right? That's
Yeah.
Stroman's.
And
Stroman's
who fit Boston better than Dustin Pedroia? Like it was that was a match made in heaven,
Oh, yeah.
and he got the World Series to go. So
Absolutely
good for him. But yeah, so I mean, that's a solid discourse on the Hall of Fame and what's to come in the next few years. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really interested in these votes the next few years because I think we will get guys in, unlike this year.
I agree. I think this year was it was what it was, but the years to come, there's a lot of good names, and we're not going to have this again for a while.
Ichiro's is going to be fun.
Ichiro's going to be.
He might get 100%.
He should. He definitely should.
I know.
He should be unanimous. Why not? Like, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's that, and so let's shift our way to the trivia, the what we live for on this podcast, and of course it's Hall of Fame related. So do you want to go first?
I'll go first here.
Okay.
So I got this. So CC Sabathia is currently the third pitcher at the moment with at least 3,000 strikeouts who is not in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, CC isn't eligible yet.
Yeah.
Roger Clemens is one of them. Who's the other?
So 3,000 strikeouts and not in the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
Ooh. So obviously has to be a starter. Otherwise he'd have played for 50 years as a reliever.
Striking out everybody in the process.
3,000 not in the Hall of Fame, and I better not be Jamie Moyer again because
Jamie Moyer.
No, 3,000 and not in the Hall of Fame.
It's CC Clemens and somebody.
Is he a lefty or a righty?
The righty. He has 31-16 career Ks.
Wow. Not in the hall. Is he still on the ballot or he'll never get in?
That's debatable.
All right, because there is the committee that can put you in. So technically you can get in at any time if they like you enough. Schilling?
Schilling.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, it had to be Schilling because he was good. He was really fucking good.
He was really good. It was Schilling.
All right. I've got this one. So of the 9 positions, so we're excluding DH here, because of the 9 positions, third base has the fewest amount of Hall of Famers. There's only 17 primary position according to the Hall of Fame. They designate each guy's position. So there's only 17 guys that have made the Hall of Fame as third baseman. Can you name? I was gonna go 5, but let's see if you can get 4.
Mike Schmidt, George Brett.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
2.
Brooks Robinson.
3, good. So you have to do 5.
Damn it. Someone's there. Who's another third baseman? Now I'm blanking. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Why does this get tough all of a sudden? After those guys.
Those guys are the gold standard.
Yeah.
Mike Schmidt's the gold standard. I mean, George Brett. Yeah. Brooks.
Yeah. And Brooks.
See, Brooks Robinson's an investor in the York Revolution.
Really?
Because when he played in the minor leagues, he played for the York White Roses, who were the affiliate back then. So he has a statue built. It's named Brooke Robinson's Plaza. So
should we send him a cease and desist for the White Roses?
That team's defunct.
Good. See, they knew.
One of them is relatively recent. Like you might kick yourself for not getting it.
Oh, Chipper.
Yeah. That's who I was. And then I think you'll get one more.
All right. So just Chipper, he played multiple positions, so that's why I wasn't really he was left field.
Yeah, they stuck him in left a little bit, but he definitely played bulk of his career at third.
Yeah, that's true. And who would be this last third baseman?
I'll give you a hint. He is a Red Sox mostly, but then got his ring with the Yanks. 3,000 hits, hit machine. Not much other than
Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to name more. I'm like, who else?
So some other guys that you might have. So there's a few guys on here that are just 1905, whatever. But
we can just eliminate those guys.
Yeah, that's why I said name 5. The only other ones that you might have gotten would be Eddie Matthews, Paul Molitor, and Ron Santo.
Yeah, I mean,
but those are those not our generation. Yeah, the Chipper. Obviously, you get the big 3, and then it was the Chipper and Boggs that were the ones I was in mind. Like, how is he gonna get them?
No, thank you for the.
I was surprised that third base had the fewest amount.
I knew that. Just it's a position that's expected to have power and love, and not a lot of people have consistently done it, and then people get moved as well from that.
True.
So it's tough, Yeah. So I think, again, going back to David Wright, obviously he's not. I don't think he's as borderline as you and I would like him to be. I think he's definitely a no. But if, let's say, he played a couple more years of his peak, his position hurts him because there's just not a lot in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Beltre will be 18, but that's going to be it.
Right. Well, A-Rod's was a shortstop or a third baseman?
Shortstop, I think. I think they probably do it based on most games played at the position. It's probably as basic as that, but yeah, A-Rod's a shortstop for sure.
Well,
But
That
yeah,
was good. That was good
that
trivia, man.
concludes episode 3, Big Apple White Rose. Subscribe, do the whole thing, and we're gonna get this on more platforms after today. This will be the last YouTube exclusive episode. We actually do other things in our lives, so this is not our full-time gig yet.
Yet.
But signing off, Nick Diminich, Brian Wagner, and we'll
Have a
talk
good
to you
one,
guys
guys.
next week.
Bye bye.